Hey y'all, just wanted to let you know the same problem is going to persist for some time until I finally buy myself a new computer or a new camera, whatever. So just letting you know, yes, I am aware that the audio glitches out. I had to record over the audio. You'll notice at the end of the video, during the last 20 seconds, I had to record the ending part from the real video to put over it. It's just really messy. Go to my YouTube channel's homepage. I did a community post that did not reach probably anybody, but basically explaining what's going on with my camera and whatnot. So yeah. Anyway, just you're here for the information. The video's not perfect. You're not here to watch me. Just warning you, you might want to be careful wearing headphones because it does kind of glitch out and the sound gets distorted at times. But the information is there nevertheless. So yeah, let's go ahead, get to the video. Just letting you know in advance. I already know. Thank you. Hey, what's up? It's Comic95, the Savior, and for this video I wanted to talk about something that I spoke about a while ago on my channel, but updated information on how Japan handles hiring teachers, babysitters, things like that. So I told you guys in the past that one of the things that made me hesitant about having children here and deciding what type of school I want to put them in was the fact that there are no background checks that get done for the most part. I've been in Japan for years and I've literally only worked one job that actually requested a background check, but that job actually didn't do the background check themselves. They asked for me to submit my own background check, which means I could have easily fabricated one and made my own, or gave them an old outdated one, etc. They just took my word for it. And while I am happy that this is a step in the right direction, that they're now talking about Japan is talking about now requiring people to have a background check done to ensure that they are not a sex offender or have any history of, doing things like that. But the problem that I have is a few things. The biggest one is something that I've talked about on my channel, is that nobody reports crimes here. Nobody reports crimes here. So it's kind of counterproductive in a way. It's a step in the right direction, but again, this is a matter of not treating the root of the problem. The root of the problem is not teachers and babysitters doing bad things to people's children. The root of the problem is we have taught men that they can get away with doing anything that they want to. And I know women do this too, but let's keep it real. Men are more likely to be predators when it comes to sexual crimes. That's just factual. Women do it too, do not get me wrong. But it's a much bigger issue with men. And so the problem is, even children, they have been taught not to speak up and complain about these things. And your parents don't even talk to you about it. It's a taboo topic. People wait until something happens. And when it does happen, they downplay the situation. They're like, you misunderstood. Maybe they were helping you change your clothes. Or, this is a good teacher. They would never do that. It gets brushed off. And nobody wants to go through the trouble or hassle of going to the police, because even myself as an adult, when I try to report, somebody touching me on the train, I get met with the police saying basically, don't you have work today? This is going to take a long time. Are you sure you want to do it? We're probably not going to find the person. Yeah, I don't think we can. Everything you could think of tried to discourage you from reporting something. So it's if people not only have not been taught what's okay and what's not okay to do, and if people, when they do try to report something, they're discouraged from the very people that are there to protect and serve the community, that are supposed to enforce these laws, how are we going to have sex offenders if everybody's afraid to report someone? Nobody wants to report someone because you're being taught not only to be afraid of doing it, but that by doing it, you are putting a burden on other people. You are inconveniencing others, including yourself. You're wasting your time. You're drawing attention to yourself. It's not worth your time. It's not worth your money. And do you really want everybody to know that this happened to you? You're taught to be ashamed and embarrassed of what you've went through. And I say this as somebody who is both a teacher and someone that is a victim of child abuse and that has been sexually assaulted, molested, everything from my earliest days, being a toddler myself, and probably earlier than that, just from what I can remember. It's sad to me when I see that, I think it's bad in my country, but then I look at places like here in Japan where there is no help for you. It is literally you against the world here when something bad like that happens to you. And so the problem that I have is that it's a scapegoat to put the focus on, okay, we've had 200 teachers that have, people actually spoke up about these people. You think it's just 200? The number is much greater than that. The problem is parents are too busy and they don't care. They don't want to go through the hassle, trouble, embarrassment of being in the news or in the newspaper. Everybody in school knowing this happened to you. And schools don't take it seriously. If you report something to a school, they try to talk it down and be like, oh, it was a misunderstanding. We know know this person, they're a good teacher, they're whatever they want you to believe, and you're going to walk away believing and thinking whatever they have set up for you to believe already. Like, you don't get a say in this. So, not to say that teachers are perfect and angels. There most certainly are some horrible, awful teachers, which is what I was saying about the profession here. That is scary. How can you have a career that involves you being with young children, minors, and no background checks? I would not want my daughter going to a school where she has a male teacher, no background check. And forget about just men, women can do stuff too. And forget about sexual abuse, physical abuse, and especially if people from foreign countries. I hate to say this, but I have to keep it real. I don't know why you chose to go to Japan. I don't know what you were like in your home country. Your record doesn't carry over here, so that's scary. So, yeah, it's like, I'm happy that it's a move in the right direction, but the problem is they're still not addressing the real issue. You have to get celebrities, public figures speaking on these topics and making it known that you are not being a burden to society. You are not bad. You are not wrong for speaking up when these things happen. You need to talk. The world needs to know. People need to know. And it's not just for you, it's helping other people. Because if someone was capable of doing something like that to you, they're going to do it to someone else. Especially if you're older, they're going to choose younger victims. People that can't speak up. And a lot of parents here, the idea of having kids is just to look good to the world, not to really love them and take care of them. People want to have children to have that nuclear family, perfect little life where, you have the mom and dad and 2 kids type thing, or, whatever. They want their life to look perfect. But when they have their children, they dump them off into international school. They have them in every extracurricular activity. And some people might think, oh, it's because they love their kid, they want to be smart. No, they don't want to babysit them. Their marriage is trash. They hate their spouse. They just want to look like they have it all together to the outside world. So when you have these parents that don't care about their kids, and you see it as a teacher, I cannot tell you how many times I'll make a video talking about this, but you get kids that come to school with spoiled, rotten snacks, kids that come to school with full diapers on, diaper rashes, etc. And it's like, damn, you aren't even trying. It's first thing in the morning. It's 7 a.m. You didn't even try to look like you have it together at home when it comes to dropping off your kid. Your goal is get rid of them. Yes, I'll sign up for daycare. Yes, I'll pay an extra $500 a month. I do not want to be a mom. I do not want to be a dad. So we ain't finna get into that in this video, but my point is, there's so much neglect going on here. And then to add on to it, you're taught as a child, don't bring home your problems at school to mommy and daddy. Because it's stressful for them. Handle things yourself. You're taught that at the youngest age. As soon as you're old enough to speak, you're taught to keep it at school, and you're brainwashed and manipulated by your teachers. Because see, what happens is when bad things do happen at school, they try to make you go home being happy because kids are stupid. All you have to do, abuse a kid. I'm keeping it real. This is what happens. They abuse kids. Bad stuff happens to them. They tell them, oh, okay, it's okay. We're going to handle it here. We're going to take care of it. Give you some candy, make you laugh and smile, and then you go home happy. You're going to forget about what happened during the day. You're not going to tell mom and dad. Or you're taught, do you really want mommy and daddy to have to come up to the school? Do you really want mommy and daddy to get involved with this? They're so stressed out. They have other things to do. You're taught these things. And what it does is, and it's much deeper than that, I'm making it short for this video, they literally teach you as a child when you're being bullied, whether it be by a student or a teacher, you need to handle it yourself. Because if you get mommy and daddy involved, they're going to be angry. They're not going to be happy. So you're taught, if I tell my mom and dad someone's touching me, if I tell my mom and dad someone's bullying me, someone's touching me, they're going to be angry at me. As an adult, you're taught, if you make a big deal and make a scene, if you go to the police station, everyone's going to be looking at you. Everyone's going to think you did something bad, you did something wrong, you're a bad person, you're a whore. That's what you're taught. And until they have public figures, big names talking about these things, until there are posters, signs, commercials, celebrities, posters, signage, celebrities speaking on it, government officials speaking on it. And I'm not talking about for a 2-second bow, oh yes, suicide is bad, yes, Japan, no, not that fake cliche shitty type stuff. I mean like really talking about it. And regardless of what your beliefs are on these topics, I talked about this on my live stream, I think about how it is in the U.S. I don't care what your beliefs are on these topics. Just hear me out. It's the overall message. Regardless of your stance on the LGBT or any of the cultural appropriation, black people issues, etc. Hear me out. It takes celebrities, commercials, public officials, government officials or whatever, speaking on these things for things to change. If you grew up in the early 2000s like how I did, and you're a 90s baby, or even 80s, 70s, especially, before that, anybody that grew up prior to the generation now, when you were growing up, it was acceptable to call people all types of slurs. You can call them, anything you could think of. Gay, faggot, this, that, and the other. You were afraid of looking like you were. It was okay to say things like, oh, you had that good hair. Or lying saying, I'm mixed, I'm Latina, I'm half white. All type of little lies are oh, and if you were, you loved to brag about it back then. So, yeah, it was okay to say and do these things. It was okay to say that you want to be lighter. It was okay to say you don't want to tan. It was okay to say different things that we cannot say nowadays. Times were different back then. But things have changed. And the reason why things changed wasn't just because time went on. It's because we had new people speak up about things that weren't talked about before. We had a president that supported gay rights. We had celebrities. We had YouTubers and people that drew attention to what's wrong with not loving yourself. What's wrong with having hate for the way that you're born, for your skin complexion, for your hair texture. We had people that talked about these things. We had people that fought for those rights and fought for those things. So regardless of what your opinions are on the topics, you have to acknowledge that the reason why things have changed, the reason why it is not culturally or socially acceptable no more in the US to say and do these things, is because we had people that were celebrities speak up on these things. We had commercials about these things. We had movies about these things. Japan doesn't have any of that. And you might think that's a good thing because maybe you don't support the LGBT, or maybe you're angry about Black Lives Matter. Okay, whatever. We didn't get into that. My point is, you cannot deny what causes change is having other people that are of power, of status, speak on it. We cannot just have a news article. We cannot just have a law put into place. We don't hang people for being gay. For the most part, nobody was stopping you from getting a job being Black. But we know subliminally, if you do things like have dreads or you have braids, you are significantly increasing the chance that you don't get a job as a Black person. Which is why still to this day, keeping it real, most Black people, myself included, you will not wear natural hair to an interview. Because you are significantly increasing the chance you're not getting the job. It's going to be seen as less professional. Some people just don't like the styles. Like, for example, I like how I look better with straight hair. I'm not a fan of dreads. I don't like braids. I can admire them on other people, but I just don't like them on myself. I've had them before, but it's been a very long time. But that's another story. So it's like, you have to have other people talk about this stuff. If we just be like, okay, we have this law in place. We've had laws forever making things equal, fair. But was anyone really following that stuff? No one was going to really kill you. There were crazy people, serial killers, all type of crazy crap. But realistically, you did not walk outside afraid and fearing of your life for being gay. But you weren't open with telling people that you were. It was a closeted thing. People didn't run around with rainbow stuff and openly, flamboyant, whatever. That type of stuff didn't happen back then when I was growing up. It was very rare to see. It was shameful if you were. I had friends that were gay and bisexual, but they were afraid people to know that they were because of how times were. And again, I'm not making this a political video to talk about that, but rather to say, just as that it's so, I said this in my live stream about depression, you need celebrities to talk about sexual abuse. You need celebrities to talk about physical abuse, domestic violence, bullying. And you need to talk about depression, suicide. Because if we just make laws, if we just make one news article, one story, one segment on TV, what is that going to do? Nothing. Everyone knows these things exist. We know about the problems. But there's no real conversation. It's just like a quick flash topic, and that's it. Move on to something else. Nothing's ever going to get done from just that. And the problem that I have right now, like I was saying, is that this is a scapegoat. There's a hyper focus on, we need to stop teachers from, being bad, doing bad things to kids. How about we focus on what's going on at home? How about we stop saying that, you can't call the police If there's a fight or some arguing going on, if there's abuse going on inside that household, the wife has to report it. She has to want to get help. If you suspect that a kid is being abused at school, it's not good enough for you to see why is this kid coming to school and nodding the back of his head. Instead, it's, well, the mom has to, report that her husband is beating her son. Or the child himself has. How is a 4-year-old going to call the police? Some of them are smart enough to do that. But here in Japan, no. It's really sad to me. And I'm not just giving random examples. I'm literally telling you a real story. I talked about it on Twitter before. I literally had a 4-year-old boy whose parents were separated. And his dad seemed to be really nice. But his dad was only there for, special events. Like he came on Easter and I met his father. He was really nice. And I don't think it was just for show, because trust me, I know when parents are trying to put on a show for you. His mom didn't even try. His mother had a meeting with my boss and she literally laughed during the meeting when they were questioning her about, her son's well-being. Sending her kid to school with rotten bananas, rotten oranges. She'd forget his lunch. He would have a full diaper rashes. And I knew he was being abused at home because I talked about it on Twitter. He had no emotion or feelings when he would get in trouble. It was like he expected it. He was an only child and had difficulty with sharing. And normal kids, especially if they're the only child, being told you can't have this, makes them cry. They get angry. Him? Just become quiet. Shut down. Sometimes get angry. Never cry. And that's how I knew something was going on at home. And it made me feel bad because in one sense you were happy that he wasn't a crier. But then it made me wonder, why is he not a crier? So, that's all a whole nother story. My point is basically, it's not handling the real issue at hand. Because all you're doing is passing the buck. You're saying, well, it's not at home. We can't deal with issues at home. We can't get involved if there's domestic, sexual, physical abuse going on inside of your household. The child has to report it themselves. Otherwise, the police will ignore it. You can't even send a kid to a hospital. The doctors will deny it. They'll be like, oh, that's exactly what happened. My student came to school with a knot in the back of his head. I told it to my boss. My boss immediately called, 119, had the ambulance come. They went to the hospital with him. And when he was brought back to me, they told me that it was just a little bump on his head. Probably from hitting it, playing, or whatever. It was a huge knot on the back of that boy's head. It was not from falling, like how they claim that he did. And the way that he told his story, I forgot what his exact words were. It was scripted. It was very obvious that he had been told, tell them this happened to me. It was very obvious it was scripted. His mom clearly told him, say this when they ask you what's wrong with your head. That did not come from falling. So he clearly got hit upside his head. Who falls backwards at the age of 4, walking to school. And the way that the bump was, trust me, if you saw it, you'd be like, who hit him? So, and it was really sad. Very smart boy. Tall. He was handsome. People would kill to be in her position. Had a beautiful, intelligent son. And you abuse him. You don't feed him. When he switched over to school lunch, he would finish his lunch so fast. Ask for seconds and thirds. More, please. Very well mannered. He would eat like a dog. He had to learn table manners. His utensils wouldn't get clean, so I had to start washing them at school for him. I'm not even he literally had mold on his chopsticks and in his drink bottle. Disgusting. And I only knew about the drink bottle because I thought, if they're not cleaning his utensils, they sure as hell ain't cleaning that damn drink bottle. Opened it up. You could smell it. It stank. He got sick eventually. His mom didn't even know. Oh, I didn't know he was sick. Sent her kid to school with a fever. Got a runny nose, coughing. He wasn't himself. You can tell he's not himself. He's a boy. He's normally hyper all over the place. Not that day. It just makes you so sad. So, and again, at least this isn't sexual, but my problem is that this is how Japan handles their problems. Instead of saying, okay, let's get to the root of this, let's cover up just enough to appease foreigners and make everyone happy and think that we're changing things and things are better. For example, introducing women-only cars. introducing, LGBT certificates. Yeah, Japan supports gays, or a lot of dumb people. Yeah, Japan does support gays because they have Sailor Moon, and there's manga, and there's porn. You are an idiot if you think that's representative of real life. What a dummy. That's like saying, and I said this before in a video, that's like saying that racism doesn't exist in the US. People love Marvel movies. There's black characters in that movie. Look, they have Black Panther. Look, the most famous comedians are black guys. Okay, so that means racism doesn't exist because you enjoy watching black people on TV? Interesting. So Asians don't experience discrimination or anything either because most men have a preference for Asian women over any other race of women. So nobody bullies them. Speak to an Asian American girl and ask her what it was like growing up and going to school. Ask her about racist messages that she's received from guys. Nasty, stereotypical stuff she gets. I have Asian friends, and I can tell you about their messages from people asking them for happy endings, to asking for massages, to assuming that she's going to be slobbering over them because they have a big black dick, or because he's a white guy and she wants Super Saiyan babies and shit. So it's like, it's a step in the right direction, like I said. But I want to see Japan make real change. I want them to really do something about the problem at hand, and that will not happen until they address how the stuff starts. And that starts at home. And it also starts with making men be held accountable instead of being taught, well, if you weren't dressed this way, if you didn't look like this, if you weren't at this place at this time, if you didn't look this way, if you didn't dress this way, that wouldn't have happened to you. And like I said, we don't live in a perfect world, so yes, there are things you can do to help stop those things from happening. But let's also place most of the blame on the man. It doesn't matter if you were wearing nothing, completely nude, and asking for it. Is the man not a rapist for putting his hands on you? Is he not a predator? Let's stop passing blame. Victim blaming, if you will. Don't get me wrong, there are things that ladies need to do to protect themselves, and women do need to be held accountable for doing dumb stuff. You don't go to a hotel with an arpist and then act surprised that you get R'd. That's common sense. I agree. But it doesn't matter what she did. At the end of the day, is he not still a crazy, nasty person? A disgusting, evil, wicked arpist? Yes, he is. And that is the point at the end of the day. You would not use that excuse for kids. We don't say, well, if that little girl didn't want to get R'd or M'd, she shouldn't have been wearing a bikini. We recognize, no, this is a child and a minor. Doesn't matter what she has on. She's a minor. You shouldn't be looking at her like that. It's the same point. So, again, happy that Japan is trying to do something about it, but they need to do more, and they need to address where the issue is really happening. It's at home. It's at home, and it's the fact that even your own mother, she doesn't talk to you about this stuff. And then when you're an adult, you're taught, oh, boys will be boys, basically. And so it's like, if men don't have to be held accountable, why are women being held accountable? If it's okay for men to touch you, to talk to you nasty, to look at you nasty, do whatever they want to, under the umbrella that, oh, he's a man, or you need to cover yourself then. This is going to translate to the judges, to the police officers, to lawyers, the people that are made to protect us in this world. And if they've all been taught, this is okay to do, this is okay to say, it's okay to touch this person in this place. If they've all been taught you've given up consent by going here, if they've all been taught if you don't want men to touch you, stay at home after these hours, don't go to these places, how are you going to get judged in a way that you want to? Because now when you walk into a courtroom, your judge is already thinking to themselves, oh, so she was on a date with you? Okay. And in their mind, it's like, why did she go to a hotel if you don't want to get effed? And it's like, that's besides the point. I didn't say I want to get drugged. And I have the right to decide when and if I want to. I can change my mind. But they don't see it that way. There's no understanding of that. They have been taught from the beginning of time, those judges, those police officers, those lawyers, What happens at home stays at home. So unless someone is personally inside that household complains about something, you cannot do anything about it. If you hear your neighbor getting beat by their husband, you cannot intervene. You cannot call 911 and they're going to help her. No, because Sachiko don't want the help. If a child, you might think, oh, they're a minor, I can protect them, right? Nope. If that minor doesn't complain about something happening at home, nothing happens. This is why you have cases where you got children being boiled to death. I'm not kidding you. This just happened last year. Sadly, a little boy was boiled to death in a bathtub by his mother's boyfriend. Crazy crap like that. I can't even imagine. Like a fucking lobster. People are sick. And the issue is, let's pass it off on teachers. Because, yeah, there's bad teachers out here. Let's handle this problem. And again, it's a start. But the problem with Japan is, that's where they stop. They start something and they end it there. They're like, oh, this is enough. Let's make foreigners think we've changed something. Let's make foreigners think we're doing something different. Let's make foreigners think we're doing something different, that we care about them, that we listen to them, that we support them. And I don't mean them as in this is for foreigners. No. They want to look good to the world. And this is the problem that I have with Japan, for those of you that be kissing Japan's butt. They do just enough to seem like they're a first world country. But the way crap goes around here, it might as well be a third world country. Because their laws, their rules, their way of going about day-to-day life is so backwards. It's so backwards. Everything is about, this is how we've always done it. Instead of, we have better technology, let's move forward. And it's hilarious because people love making TikToks and videos because they get views. And yeah, there are some cool stuff, but showing you, oh, Japan is in the future, Japan is this, Japan is that. How many places can you actually find that crap? That's not everyday, everywhere stuff. How many people are doing or using that? Does this actually taste good? Does this work the way you say? No, it doesn't. It's all for views, all for, TV, whatever. That's what this is. That's exactly what this is. So, it makes me think about the Olympics. And I kind of talked about this too, I think, a while ago. Japan did all this stuff to try to make themselves look like they're so international, and everything got ruined. They had like a mosque on wheels. They started trying to push all of the stuff with, certificates for LGBT couples because they were afraid of people bringing this up during the Olympics and shining the spotlight on the fact that Japan doesn't allow same-sex marriage and that Japan, doesn't, really have any type of, how can I put it? They have stuff here, people that are Islamic. They have some mosques here. They have some halal restaurants. But they wanted their country to seem more accepting, more welcoming towards it than they really were. And it fools foreigners. Because what do? You guys are dumb. You're going to stay in the same little circles. They put all of their, we love and accept everyone right in Tokyo. And not just anywhere in Tokyo. They keep it inside the touristy areas. When they expand from Tokyo, maybe a little bit in Osaka. Maybe a little slither in Kyoto. But that's it. Just so that this way, when you come here to take your pictures and videos, when you come here to visit Japan, you see what they want you to see and nothing else. It's like going to Brazil during the Olympics. They make everything look nice, push all the poor people out. They don't want you recording that and taking pictures. They want you to see how beautiful, wonderful, and perfect everything is. America is the same way. If you want to learn what real life is like, you leave the touristy areas. You go into the residential areas. You go into the countryside, the suburban areas. Oops, my drink bottle. You go into places where they do not have it set up for you as a tourist. Then you see how people really feel about you. The people that love Japan, oh, Japan's so perfect, so whatever, you stayed in touristy areas. If all you're doing is going shopping in Harajuku and right next to Shinjuku Station and right next to Shibuya Station, you're doing and seeing exactly what they want you to see. And that's fine, but that's my point. You're not seeing and getting the real picture. There are places here that love foreigners, and that's why. They love your money. They know how to keep you happy. If you think those little bows and whatnot mean that they're so friendly they love foreigners, you're stupid. It's the equivalent of saying, oh my God, Americans are so nice because everybody said, how are you? That's just how we talk. If we're meeting you or you're buying something from us, it's nice and common courtesy. How are you? You find everything you're looking for. Crap like that. It doesn't mean that we actually care about how you are. It's just formalities, how we talk. Japanese is the same way. So I'm done with this video. I just wanted to comment on that. I'm glad they're moving in the right direction, but I do not feel as happy and excited as they want us to, because I know that this is just a scapegoat. They're trying to use school and teachers instead of handling the real issue at hand. Men. They're not talking to men about, consent. They're not talking to men about keeping their hands to themselves. They're not encouraging people to speak up about abuse of any kind. They're not talking about what goes on in homes. They're not talking about the lack of help at home and about the need for you to have, someone within the home call the police. Don't get me wrong, I understand. You can't press charges against somebody from outside the house. I get that. But the point is, if you can hear that someone's being battered around inside the house and the police won't even intervene to see what's going on, they're just going to say, there was a noise complaint, can you keep the volume down? Instead of trying to investigate. If you have a student that is clearly coming to school being neglected, being abused, and I can't even get a police officer to look into the case because it's like, well, the child didn't complain, the parents didn't, why would the abuser complain? How would a 4-year-old know what to say or what to do? I know I didn't when I was that age, so it's whatever. Like I said, step in the right direction. I'm not gonna keep repeating myself. I hope things do get better, but I am just saying, I'm not fooled by this crap. I realize there's a deeper, bigger problem. And it's not just men, but there's an overwhelming problem with men when it comes to this. And this is why men got so triggered here when they tried to start, the Me Too movement here in Japan. And don't get me wrong, that's a whole another topic. But the issue at hand isn't a matter of even consent, if you will. It's the fact that men are taught you will never be held responsible, and that if a woman chooses to keep your secret or play along with it, then you were never the bad guy. It's how it's basically passed off and taught. And I can agree to a certain extent that, if you're allowing somebody to pay you off for something, then you willingly signed up for it. You use your beauty, use your looks to get an advancement, whatever else it was in your work. But that does not take away from the fact that you are a dog, a monster, a cheater, because you didn't, do things the right way. You let people work their way up the ladder by sucking you off, basically. So there are issues on your end. And that's just, one part of the issue. There's so much more that can be talked about. We ain't finna get into that in this video. I'm wrapping it up right now, but the problem is that we don't hold men accountable. And when women do stuff, we don't either. We don't talk about what goes on. We hush everything. And it's easier to say, oh, look at these bad teachers, than say, look at these bad parents. Look at this bad culture that teaches you are a burden to society. Don't draw attention to yourself. Keep abuse a secret. Don't complain about anything. We don't want to talk about how Japanese culture is faulty. So instead, let's say, oh, look, there's a bad teacher. That's much easier to say. It's easy on everyone. So I hope that changes. I hope this, pushes Japan in the right direction and things change for the better for this, because I really feel sorry, because at least in my culture, there's no shame in speaking up. People understand and sympathize for you. There are people that are now lying about crap happening to them that didn't happen for empathy and sympathy. But in Japan, people don't even want that. They don't want you to get angry at them for things that happen to them. And it's so crazy. I can't wrap my mind around it. So that's it. I'm done with this video. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to chime in. Give me your own 2 cents. What do you think? Do you like this? Do you think this isn't helping? What do you think the real problem is at hand? What do you think the real issue is here with, sexual abuse and anything else, abuse related here in Japan? I would love to hear what you have to say, what you think. Other than that, please like this video if you haven't already. Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't. As always, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Comic95. I have a Snapchat at Comic the Savior and a TikTok at Comic the Savior. You can read my blog at Comic95.com, and I have a Facebook fan page at Comic95 the Savior. You can also go to my YouTube channel's homepage. I have playlists similar to this. You can watch more videos in which I rant or talk about things in the news here, and get information about Japan, whether it's working, studying, dating, living here. I probably already made a video on answering your question on that topic. So yeah, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and I hope you will watch another video. Bye.